So welcome. I think we're kind of ending week 3 of a completely difficult, tough situation that has blindsided all of us. And really, I could have never predicted that we wouldn't be in school now. I want to tell every kid that is watching this, we miss you so terribly. We miss you so much. And this is not the way it's supposed to be. We desperately want you at school and want you here with us. But since we're not able to do that now, and it's so that we can be safe and take care of each other, we've got to do things a little differently for a little while. And that's what the purpose of this meeting is tonight. And I'm going to share my screen and walk through information that's going to mean a lot to you as students, our teachers, and your parents. So you should see a PowerPoint in front of you. One of the ways we can make this work is please make sure that you're muted throughout the entire presentation. It distracts from background noises and makes it so everyone can hear. Please turn off your video feature if it's on. This saves the bandwidth and makes the presentation work better without glitches. Plus, folks won't be staring at you like you're probably staring at me and Mr. Camp a little bit. Now, here's a crucial part. Find Mrs. DeCamp in the chat feature. Send questions directly to her throughout the presentation. She's going to take note of those questions, and we're going to try to do our best to answer them at the end of the presentation. At the same time, we're going to use those questions so that we can make a Q&A document that I will put out in the s'more this Sunday. So yes, we are recording this. Yes, we will have this entire presentation to share in our next s'more on Sunday night. We will also, as I'll fill you in as we go through it, we'll have a hard copy mailing that's going to go home to families on Monday. As we start going, though, I do want to start with a huge thank you, and I think this is incredibly important. I want a huge shout out to Pam Drum and her cafeteria crew that has been here making food and helping to continue feeding our kids. They've been running around 160 meals a day as we've gone through this, and we've also revised our food pickup. Another huge shout out to John Machuga and his maintenance staff. They have been in here. I'm here tonight at 5 o'clock, and one of his workers was still here when I got here as they were disinfecting the building. They've been amazing. Our technology support, Lucinda Adams and her entire tech crew has been critical in us being able to reach out and go online with a lot of our learning. They've been outstanding. Our support staff, our teaching assistants and teachers' aides, they were like the first to volunteer to help and really get involved in food distribution. Anything we needed, they were there. Our bus drivers, Sarah Burgess and her drivers going out as they deliver food to our sites. Our teachers, who have been the most dedicated group of educators I've ever had the privilege of working with. What they have done has been absolutely amazing. Our counselors and our nurse and nurses who have continued to reach out to kids and offer emotional support, and our administrative assistants, Ms. Barrett and Mrs. Smith have been outstanding. Anything we want, anything we need, they're there. So you are being supported by a group of highly dedicated professionals, and I want to make sure I recognize them before we go into the work tonight. So we're moving into phase 2. The goal of this, our overarching goals, will be to continue to monitor and maintain student and family connections, with the shift to providing students a continuity of instruction by exposing them to new material as we move forward. We want to thank you for your support as a family, as a school family, as we continue to grow in a world that is completely different to what we're used to. Driving it is the belief that our students and parents need guidance on independence and self-pacing with their children. We believe in quality over quantity, and we'll begin with the outcomes in mind. We'll utilize standardized approaches regarding online platforms, so we don't have so many things out there that it's hard for parents to keep track of them. And we also believe in a two-pronged approach. We understand that not everyone is online, so we are also doing quite a bit of an offline format so that parents can have physical things in hand to help their students. Going into the nitty-gritty, the governor has stated April 15th would be the end day, and we would be able to go back to school. We are planning out to May 1st and possibly beyond. As you know, the COVID epidemic has started to reach a critical mass in New York City. That is reaching out towards our area. Steuben County is having increased number of cases. So we're preparing that we might not be going back to school April 15th, and we're relying on the governor to let us know that through executive order. So we're trying to plan ahead and be prepared. So our phase 1 was to supply work to students, reinforce already learned skills, and to do our best to remain connected to our students on a personal level. Now that we are extending out past April 15th, the governor has made an executive order stating we got to stay in the work, and I think it's the right decision. Students should be in school, and they're not, and we're sad, but we have to make the best of it, and we have to do the best we can for our community. So that brings us to phase 2. And how is this different than phase 1? Well, the huge different points are exposure to new learning. Teachers will be providing lessons for new learning for students. And with this, and one of the most critical things that I'll talk in a little more detail in a minute, is about assessment and feedback. We'll be working to contact students at least once a week to evaluate their work and give them feedback of how they can grow. And that's going to be a lot of different ways that we're going to be able to do that. We'll also have more detailed on scheduled learning at home and expectations to help parents navigate through this unprecedented situation. Parents, some of you are teachers during the day. I mean, my wife is a teacher, and I'm a principal who is a teacher, and we're struggling with this at home with our own kids too. But most of you aren't teachers. So we're going to do our best to help. And we're going to do our best to make things reasonable and as efficient as we can so that your child can continue to grow academically. But here's the thing, kids, from the governor down to Mr. Anderson, down to your teachers, we got to keep working. We got to do our best job, set goals, and make those goals. So we're not really going into spring break next week. We're continuing the work. What I had mentioned before of why is assessment and feedback so important? Well, one of the biggest differences between offering academic work for a review of skills and a shift to new learning is the critical application of formative assessment and a higher set of expectations for students. So in a parent's world, that's basically just saying kids have to get grades to be held accountable for their work, to know what they're doing well and know what they need to work on. So one of the huge shifts into phase 2 is providing our students with specific feedback to help them grow. That's the main point. And how we're going to do that be everything from traditional means of phone calls to emails, video conferencing, and Google Classroom, depending on grade level, and some other platforms that I'll share with you in this presentation. So what will it look like? Online resources for communication and formative feedback. The one thing parents need to know, and I think people have done a really good job of knowing where this is on our website. There is a button that takes you to the Savona Elementary and Junior High School Emergency Online Learning Plans. We're going to use that as the center point and portal for a parent to get to any other connected online learning. So if you jump into that on our website, it's going to take you to folders for each grade level and subject area. And as our teachers populate that, you're going to be able to open up documents to help work with your kid. You're going to be able to attach to other online platforms for learning. You're going to be able to access teacher videos of teachers teaching their kids, teaching their students. So everything's going to focus right around there. Now, expanding that to one of the, I guess, best ways of providing feedback is being able to have a class, to talk together, to share together. We're doing something like that right now in this Zoom, although this is more of an information share that's coming from school administration, myself and Mrs. DeCamp to you. You're also able to give us feedback, and by sending Ms. DeCamp questions during this that we'll be able to answer at the end. Now, one of the big things about student permission, we've got two platforms that we can use to video conference. One of them is within a Google Classroom, which is called Google Meet, and one of them is Zoom. We're using Zoom right now. Here is the thing with parents. We can't have Zoom conferences with you and your children without your permission to show video. So the school is going to be sending home permission slips via email and snail mail on Monday, asking parents if you can give us permission so that if we have a class, a teacher wants to pull the class together and have kids show their work and talk and see each other, we need your permission to let us do that. So we're going to ask for your permission for that, knowing that any Google Meet or Zoom that we do, the link is going to be password connected, and we're going to do our best with the features in each platform to make sure that we're keeping student privacy and that learning as professional as we possibly can. Diving a little deeper into that, one of the ways we can make video streaming and conferencing work is teaching our children these things. Adjusting your profile to be first name and last initial. Try to log into a class meeting from a quiet and distraction-free environment. Keeping your audio on mute until you want to speak. Disabling the video from time to time when you're focusing on listening. Using the raised hand feature, and also being able to use the chat box to ask questions and work with each other. Having a plan for taking notes. Obviously, we would expect to show roars and have appropriate classroom behavior. Obviously, school dress code, and keeping digital meeting codes private, never sharing it. Now, on the bottom in all caps, I said, do not allow your child to make your own Zoom account. Here's a bit of advice that we want to give parents. The school district has paid for a professional version of Zoom that we're using. You can open up and make your own free Zoom accounts. I would highly recommend parents, if you're going to allow your child to do that and connect with friends, that might be a good thing. But I would say make sure that you stay watching over everything they do, because if someone else gets a link, people can use it for bad things. That's just the reality of it. So as a parent, I would highly suggest staying very, very, very connected in that way. Now, moving on. So I'm a parent and I have several different kids in different grades. How do I know that my child isn't going to have a Zoom with one teacher and then my other kid's going to have a Zoom at the same time? Well, we've just established a schedule we're asking our teachers to stick with so that they have straight up times within theirs to know that, for example, if I have a kindergarten student, that kindergarten student teacher will be reaching out to them on Monday mornings. On Tuesday, it might be pre-K. And during that time slot, so they're not going to do a Zoom for 3 hours, but during that time slot, that'll be set for that specific grade level. Now, online resources for communication and to provide that critical feedback to students. In particular, Google Classroom is going to be the main method for grades 3 through 6. Students in 5th and 6th grade are already very proficient in this. Students in 3rd and 4th are going to be learning this over the next 3 weeks so that they can go into a more online environment. Our pre-K through 2 teachers are going to be given accounts for them to get used to it and play with it a little bit and decide if it'd be something we would want to use with our primary students over time. Now, there are other platforms such as Seesaw, and I know if you're in Mrs. Dodone's classroom as a parent, you probably have seen Seesaw in action. This is a great learning tool that works very similar to Google Classroom, letting you know how that works. Now, other ways teachers will connect. Many parents have used Remind with their teachers. The district is purchasing a license to expand our use of Remind and make it more compliant to student privacy rights. So that will be a very good tool people will use. Teachers will be calling parents a lot more. Now, one thing that teachers might do is they might star 6-7 before they call so they can keep their personal phone numbers private, and it'll just come up no caller ID. So if you do get a phone call that's no caller ID, it might be a good idea to answer it because there's a good chance it might be someone from the school that is calling to check up on you and your child. We'll also continue with email. And then we are allowing closed Facebook groups. We can only do this if parents work with us to make sure that we're not allowing people into groups that shouldn't be, and also not posting any personal information about children or other children that might be in the group. And our teachers are going to monitor that very closely. We just are very much aware that that has been a rich sharing with a lot of our parents, particularly in pre-K and some of our kindergarten classrooms. Now, we're also going to have a lot of online instructional programs, such as iReady in kindergarten through 6, IXL in the intermediate levels, RAS Kids through the primary and up. Those programs will be shared with you through your child's teacher and setting those expectations of how your child can access. We're not using anything that your child has not used in school prior, so they should have a really good grasp of how to use those tools. Now, one of the big questions, what if I don't have internet in my home? Well, the school has expanded and opened its Wi-Fi in all 3 locations, so both schools and the bus garage. If you need access to internet to download something, to have your student work, you literally can pull into the parking lot of school and connect to our internet. We have opened it without password for parents to use. I also believe that the Savona Benedict Library has done the same thing. We also are working with BOCES to get hotspots. So if you have AT&T cell service at your home, the school might be able to provide families with these Wi-Fi hotspots to use during this school closure. So if you want to reach out to the school, you can call and leave a message in the main office, or send your teacher or me or Mr. Camp an email, and we'll see what we can do to help. This is information I literally just got 2 hours before we jumped on the computer. So we might be able to help some families out that way. Now, the school will also be providing hard packets of all schoolwork for parents that do not have access. So we'll be using the internet survey that your teachers did with you over the course of the last week to determine what children might need hard copies beyond what we're already providing. If you have questions or you need hard copy work, please don't ever hesitate to reach out to your child's teacher, and we will be very, very glad to help you. So One of the things that's going to happen is next Friday, a week from today, we're going to be handing out hard copy work to our students. And I'm going to outline that in more detail as we go through this presentation. Now, another simple question, what if my child doesn't have a device that will work with the school's apps? Simply reach out to the school through your child's teacher, or you can call the main office and let us know. We are a one-to-one device school, and we can supply your child with a device if you need one. So if you've got internet at home or you have a way to access Wi-Fi, but your device is, or you don't have a device at home, we can supply the one your child uses at school. We just need to know so that we can pull it from our charger cart at school and allow parents to take that home. Now, what is this learning going to look like at different grade levels? This is something that I'm going to walk through in grade level bands. I have a lot of information that's going to come up on the screen for each one. I'm going to go through it in a more of a big picture way, but this will also be, you will have access to all this information in my next parent newsletter that you can go for and look specifically on for your child. So starting at pre-kindergarten, so teachers and Mrs. Crooker and Ms. Larrabee have been fantastic doing read-alouds that I have seen online. They've been fantastic. ABC Mouse is something the kids have used online. They'll continue with that. The teachers will continue with classroom videos and sharing through their Facebook groups. We will also be reaching out, they'll be reaching out to you through Remind, telephones and emails, and video conferencing after we get parent permissions. We will also be giving 3 weeks worth of hard copy work to all students that parents will be able to pick up throughout the entire day next Friday, April 10th. Kindergarten through 2nd grade is the next grade level band. Kindergarten through 2nd grade teachers are going to provide at least 2 videos of them teaching a lesson for your kids in ELA and math every week. The work after that is going to be reinforcement of those new skills taught and to support parents. They'll also be using supplemental online instruction such as iReady, and they'll give expectations for that. Again, I go to, if you need a device, your child, please let us know. All work, everything will be able to direct you through the district SharePoint from the school website. Feedback will be provided on the methods talked about prior through Remind, Seesaw, telephone, email, video. We will also be giving 3 weeks of hard copy work to all students in kindergarten through 2nd grade with a parent pickup on April 10th. Grades 3 and 4, the same set of expectations of teacher videos, teaching instruction that will be around 5 to 8 minutes, no more than 10. Again, with devices, if your child needs a device, let the school know. We will work to get their one-to-one device at school to you. We will still be providing hard copy work to students who do not have access. The one thing with 3rd and 4th is we're going to be looking at a gradual release to online instruction through Google Classroom. So this coming Friday, April 10th, we're going to be sending home hard copy work for the 1st week and a gradual release into the 2nd week, with the 3rd week being a full Google Classroom with hard copies only for students who don't have access. So we will be providing that work over the next week to week and a half. Your child's teacher will be providing you with a login and password for your child to get onto Google Classroom, where they'll start learning that together with their teacher so that they can submit work and work together. 5th and 6th grade, our kids are getting older, they're getting more independence. Their teachers will still be providing video lessons as per all the other grade levels. Google Classroom will be the main form of communication and connection to their online instruction. Our 5th and 6th grade kids are already proficient at Google Classroom, and this won't be much of a change for them at all as they're working through it. Again, families who do not have access to the internet, We will work to give you hard copies of work, and your teachers will be reaching out to you for more traditional means to support you. And again, if you need a device for school, let us know. Now, our elementary essentials, PE, art, music, computers, library, health, they're going to continue sending home paper instructions for families. They're also going to be using my weekly SMORE and parent newsletter that I will continue doing at least once to twice a week. I love the fact that we can reach out and share and let you know what's going on in our school. And they'll be doing a weekly essentials roundup with different things and links to things that parents can do as a family with their kids. They'll also be using Remind Facebook groups and Google Classrooms to connect to our kids. So expect a lot of creative, fun, cool things from our elementary essential classes that really can focus on life skills and lifelong learning in a lot of those really important health and art areas. For those of you whose children receive special education or 504 services, we want you to know that these times are going to be a little different, but we're working very hard to be in compliance with New York State guidelines and students' IEPs and 504 plans. Special education teachers will be participating in collaborative meetings with grade level appropriate staff. They will be modifying assignments and reaching out to parents and participating in video conferencing and hosting breakout rooms and possible services through telecommunication, from everything from itinerant services to speech services. So your child's special ed teacher will be reaching out to you and probably your speech teacher and other itinerant services as we figure out how to do our best to have a continuum of education for your child.
In some cases too, they may, in the primary ages where you are going to pick up hard copy work, some of that will be in your hard copy work. And for those of you that are more online, for the older kids, it'll be more internet-based.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Camp.
You're welcome.
Now, counselors and clinicians. So our counselors group, our student support group, will continue to meet every Monday morning at 9 a.m. to talk about all of our kids and what we can do to help. They will be available to families. They should be working to keep their counselors' caseload and reaching out to all the students that they work with. We understand that this is a tough time. There are some kids that are going to be at home that are going to love working and being more independent, but moreover, a lot of kids are going to be sad. They're going to miss their friends, and we're all just can't wait to get back to school. But we want to make sure that you know that there are supports out there and that we will help you as much as we can as we deal with this ongoing issue. There is a team here that is meant to take care of us as a professional family for our kids. Now, what would this look like at home? So I'm a parent. I want to know, like, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to help my kid at home? Some of you are still working. Some of you are working from home, and some people have been laid off. This is a horrible time. With 6.6 million people have applied for unemployment benefits because of this. This is a terrible time. We understand that. So what we'd like to do is look at instruction in two different ways. And if you look at the bottom of this slide, direct instruction. This is the time you're sitting one-on-one with your child. You're watching the teacher maybe teach the lesson, or you're using the paper work that's been given, and you're teaching your child a new skill. You're directly interacting with them. You're helping them. You're correcting them. You're providing positive, specific feedback to them as they're learning. Then there's independent practice time. That's where your child continues to work, and really, you can let them do their thing. They're focusing on their schoolwork. They're working hard. They ask you when they have a question, but you're not sitting right there directly instructing them in a new way. So when we look at this, if we're looking at a child in kindergarten through second grade, we're looking at about an hour of day of direct instruction, spending about 30 minutes on math and 30 minutes on ELA. So what that might look like is, here, your teacher provided a 6-minute lesson, video lesson. We're going to watch that together, and then we're going to pull the paperwork out that we have, and I'm going to help you work on that after that lesson. It might take 20 to 30 minutes. Once you're good, I'm going to let you work on your own and fall into that independent practice time. Then we're really going to make sure that we're having you spend time reading, writing about reading, and also time independently practicing your math facts. Now in kindergarten through second grade, that's going to be different for every child, where they're at and what grade they're in. The big thing is to continue expanding and growing them. Now in grades 3 through 6, students are going to get more and more independent. So same thing with direct instruction, math and ELA, and then giving them more time to work independently and read, write, and more independently to work on their math fluency and math practice after they've learned a skill. A lot of this can be through online learning, pencil and paper learning. The biggest thing I would tell every single parent that pays forward, read with your child, read with them, ask them questions. What do you think about this character? Why do you think that character did that? Why do you think the author made that happen in the story? Boy, if you were to write the ending of this story, how would it happen? What do you think that character would do if another character did this? All of those questions to get your kid really thinking about what they're reading, really thinking about what they can do. Those are the best conversations you can have with your child when you're talking about what the future possibilities are and what the reasons are. That's that critical, creative problem solving and thinking that makes an amazing adjusted citizen in our world. Now, in the other academic areas, looking at our PE, our health, our art, our music, really our special areas, our essential areas are going to send you great ideas of how you can do fun things at home. I know Ms. Fishbaugh was asking a lot of her art students to go out and find things in nature to then make their own name as an art project yesterday. I know that, I've seen my own daughter learning the recorder at home quite a bit, to our joy and dismay at some points. All of those things for them to have fun and for you to do stuff as a family. Those are the important things. Now, looking at what a sample schedule might be for a parent of a first grader. On Monday, maybe it's, hey, we're going to do our teacher ELA lesson for 30 minutes. And then later in the day, you're going to have you do some independent reading for 15 minutes and then write in a journal about the story you're reading. And then you might have them jump on an online iReady math lesson and then do some fluency practice, 15 minutes. And then have your child choose, what are we going to do today? Are we going to do something more PE focused, more art focused? And just look for a good 30-minute activity with your child to spend with them. Maybe Tuesday, your teacher sets up a 9 a.m. Zoom conference call and your child gets to say hi to the friends in their class and they can do a fun question and answer on what they're learning. So looking at it in more of there's no way a parent can engage with their child and teach them 8 hours at home a day. It's really about quality time of about an hour of good connection and instruction, about another hour of your child working and practicing on their own, and then really connecting as a family in those other essential areas in your child's life. In sixth grade, an example in sixth grade, it's going to be very similar. It's just looking at more independent practice time and more time for them to apply the skills that they're learning and using the resources the schools provided to shake up their day and do something different. A lot of families really need to have a schedule. Like they want to know by, their kids get up at 7:30, we're eating breakfast at 8, And then by 9:30, we're doing this and that. To the more scheduled families, you could use this as a template to build a schedule at home. To families that are more loose, more like, hey, you know, we get up kind of when we get up, and then let my kid hang out a little bit, and then, hey, now's a good time to read. It gives you a checklist of what you can do throughout the day. So even if you're not scheduled by time, you can create a great little checklist that says, okay, on Mondays, we're going to make sure, did we listen to our teacher? Okay, cool. Did we independently read today? Great. Did we do our iReady math lesson today? And literally put that chart up there and help teach your child some independence in following through, and let them choose how their day wants to go. As long as they're getting it done, that's really all that matters. Now, what are the most important things you need to know now? Well, today through April 10th, please let the school know if your child needs a device to access online learning. Please let the school know if you have cell service at your home, but no internet. We may be able to help for Wi-Fi connectivity. In particular, if you have AT&T, because that's the company we're working with that we've got some access to. Now, please return via email and or paper mail the permission slip to allow your child to participate in video conferencing. If we don't receive this, we may be able to start, they might be able to participate, but they're not going to be able to show their face at all to their classmates or their teacher. So, so please, that would be very helpful for us to keep connected. I can say just starting this Zoom with you guys, being able to see some of our kids and parents and just have some talks before we went on to officially doing this really touched my heart. It was really wonderful. So there's some real benefits to that. Now, the distribution of materials is going to be Friday, April 10th. All students in pre-K through 4th grade are going to get packets that have 3 weeks, 1 week at a time of work that your teacher is going to help guide you through. Now, 5th and 6th graders without internet access will have packets for them too. The way we're going to do it is very similar if you picked up chocolate through the PTO chocolate sale. Parents are going to drive to the small gym entrance. We will have myself and some volunteers are going to come out between 8:30 and 3:30. Show up whenever it's convenient. And we're going to come out to the car, find out whose kids were getting stuff. We're going to go in, grab it, and we're going to bring it out to you. We're going to be really careful. So letting your kids know if they're coming with you, we are going to be wearing masks and we are going to be wearing gloves. I don't want students to be scared. We're just being really safe. We want to model that safety to our kids. We also will have backpack food available for families for pickup too. So if you're in the backpack program or if there's any food insecurity, please feel free to let us know and we can provide that to you also. Another thing, if you do come between 10:30 and 11:30, we also are doing our meal pickup that many of you have taken advantage of to this point too. Now, letting you know, phase 2 will officially start on Monday, April 13th. You're going to start seeing videos and online instruction posted probably before then. Our teachers are on it. They are amazing. And you'll be able to start see those things coming up there. Teachers are going to start reaching out to you about new instruction. As I said, our hope is that we're going to be able to make a contact with your child at least once a week to be able to provide feedback, ask them how they're doing, and support them. Now, those are the most important things you need to know now, but I think some of the most important things are we miss you and we love you very much. Now, I'm going to give Mrs. DeCamp a minute if people have any questions, and she's going to kind of help sort them and ask them, and we're going to work on asking any questions that you have. One last thing, while she's doing that, I want to do a reminder that we are still religiously doing our meal pickup. We're doing it Monday, Wednesday, Fridays now at the 4 sites on your screen. We're providing food for several days at a time. So I really hope that and it's free to every single kid in our entire district. So please take advantage of this. It's all healthy, good food for your kids that they like. So please keep that in mind. Also, just to let you know that ProAction is open and still running to support everyone. If you're food insecure or you're having some help, let's face it, a lot of people are going to be. This is not anyone's fault. This is just a really hard situation. And folks that in the service industry that rely on people to go out and use services, they're taking a hit huge right now. So please use the things that we have available in our society and community. When we're all on our feet, we're all paying our taxes and working hard. Those things exist for the times when we struggle a little bit, and it's okay. Now, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. DeCamp to ask some questions she might be seeing, and we'll do our best to answer them together.
So I do have a few questions here, and I'm going to go through those in just a second, and a couple of just clarifiers based on some of the questions. But just for those of you that if you weren't on in the very beginning, the way that you can ask a question is to use the chat feature, and you'll use the drop-down box to choose just me. So you'll be looking for my full name is on there, Melody DeCamp. And that way you can privately send those messages to me, and that will help me to make sure I catch them all. Some questions were answered on other slides throughout the PowerPoint, but I will just throw some clarifiers out there just in case you need them. So one thing is Mr. Anderson talked a lot about online instruction and what that's going to look like. In particular, he talked about Zoom or Google Meet, which are the two platforms, much like this one, that some teachers are going to utilize. And he also talked about online videos that teachers are going to use for instruction. Teachers will use different grade levels, and different teachers are going to use those different platforms in different ways. I know that most instruction that they plan to provide to you are going to be in a video format, and really that is so that you can view that on your when it's convenient for you. So if you are working, then you will, be able to watch those with your kids any time of the day, not at a specific time. However, the Zoom schedule, I know a lot of some teachers may use that for some or for some instruction, but it'll be Q&A kinds of sessions too. So it'll be a mixture, and it's not going to be a definite across the whole building how that's used, but we are trying to make sure that those will be available to you at your convenience. So that was one thing. And then, Mr. Anderson, as you said, if we don't get that permission back, kids will be able to participate in the Zoom or Google Meet with their class. They just won't be able to have their video on. So their teachers will have to keep their video off. So they'll be able to speak, but they wouldn't be seen. So that's really important if they want to have that experience, to have that consent sent back to the school. We have a couple of questions here, Mr. Anderson. I'm going to throw you a couple or one, and then I have questions coming in I want to get written down. So we had a question, does pre-K cover Head Start? That's one question.
Actually, I just had a Head Start reach out to me in an email about 30 minutes ago, I think. Mr. Ardenia sent me an email. We're coordinating with them to do as much as we can in a similar way. For the students in Head Start, I would say that Mr. Ardenia is going to reach out to you and talk to you about what we can do. I know they want to be able to do Zoom meetings just like we're setting up, and using closed Facebook groups, as long as we can protect students' privacy rights. So they're really working online with us to really work together.
All right, I'm just trying to jot down some of the questions. We have a couple questions about timeline. Can you talk a little bit more, Mr. Anderson, about what's the difference between phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 has also been tossed around a little bit. Can you just talk about the times for those while I'm jotting down some of these other questions?
Sure.
If we've thought at all about phase 3.
So we have, as a district, thought of what a phase 3 would look like. Boy, we're just desperately hoping we don't have to look at a phase 3.
And that wouldn't be until after May, correct?
That wouldn't be until after May. And in reality, phase 3 is really going to be us looking at, it's going to, like the high school, how are we handling credit-bearing courses, courses for graduation. A lot of that's going to be high school focused and high school minded. With the elementary, it's going to be diving deeper into new learning with our students and finding ways that we can continue a momentum for learning in an online environment.
Okay. Sorry, just trying to make sure I'm getting them all. And just, can you reiterate, we had a couple of questions about when are kids coming back to school?
When are kids coming back to school? Here is what I know right now. I know that the governor has said he's officially shut down schools until April 15th. If the governor does not change that, we will be back to school on April 15th. If the governor comes back on and says, we're going to shut down to May 1st, then we're going to shut down to May 1st. The governor has stated that right now he's approaching it in 2-week increments because let's face it, we haven't dealt with this type of pandemic before. We're not totally sure. Even the best scientists in the medical field, they have predictions, but they don't fully know exactly how things will play out. If we see they call it leveling the curve, if what we've been doing is really helping to level the curve, maybe we will be back April 15th. But I would expect another press conference held by the governor early next week, probably to let us know if we're coming back to school April 15th or not. From the information that I've seen, and it's the same information you get when you turn on the news. So I'm not talking from something that's cloak and dagger in any way. I do think it's probably not likely that we will be back to school on April 15th, but I could be wrong. Just speaking in the most raw, natural way I can.
We had a question about the schedule templates. So we put grade 1 and grade 6 on those, but in reality, the sample schedule that Mr. Anderson shared is really, it's pre-K through 2, can really look at the same schedule that's posted as the first grade, and 3rd through 6th. We're using the same recommended guidelines. And of course, those are recommended guidelines. We do have a question about families that are working, where both family members are working, or even have overtime. And that's really why that's a suggestion, and those times are suggestions. And that's also a big reason why our families or our teachers are planning to do online instruction in the form of a video, so that it really can be accessed anytime. And there's also a lot of opportunities for your kids to work independently. So if you are at work and whoever is caring for them, if they could, help with reading or having them writing in a journal. I know, like Mr. Anderson said, he can relate. I can relate working all day long. Even though I'm home, I'm working all day long on my computer. My husband is actually physically going to work. So it has been a challenge. It's been a huge challenge for me to try and make sure I'm continuing to keep my kids working. Sometimes that's at 7 o'clock at night. And so just trying your best. Those are not hard, fast times. Those are not hard, fast rules that have to be followed. We're hoping to get at least those 2 new lessons in per ELA and math a week, so that we can continue to teach some of those new skills. So those were some of the scheduling questions. Mr. Anderson, can you talk a little bit about, while I'm looking at some more questions here, will students be turning in their work? Well, should we hold on to it? And what should we do with the work they've done so far?
So the work they've done so far, now we're not looking at a physical exchange of getting work back from students in direct hands, simply because of the nature of it might be dangerous. We're doing our best to stop the possible spread of anything. So we won't be collecting that, but what we will have is tools to offer parents to be able to show that work to your teacher. So for example, on Remind, you can take a a cell phone picture of it and send it to the teacher, and the teacher can provide feedback on how they're doing it from that. Your teacher talking on the phone and having the student talk through what they've done. We'll be able to use online formats of taking a picture and uploading it through Google Classroom, depending on the grade level, or Seesaw. So there's going to be ways to be able to show the work to the teacher, but based on trying to be as safe as possible, we're not looking at handing in and exchanging too much work just simply by the possible danger it might pose.
Okay. So the next thing, it really speaks to social media. So I know, Mr. Anderson, you're going to want to talk a little bit about it too, but a question around students. Are students going to be moving to the next grade or repeating their grade? So the unfortunate thing about social media is that there's a lot out there, and I know, you know, it just depends on your personal preference, but unfortunately, with it being April Fool's Week too, people did post a lot of things that were inaccurate. And so one thing that I would encourage you to do is to, anytime you see someone share an article on any type of social media platform, open it and read it and check the source. So there were a lot of fake articles going around that were pranks that said that all kids are going to repeat the grade level. And that is not accurate. And that is not accurate for Pennsylvania. That's not accurate for New York. So I do encourage you to always check the article and make sure that what you're reading is from a good source. Anything .gov is a really good, or .org are really good ways to determine. I don't know if you want to speak to that a little more, Mr. Anderson.
I'll speak very frankly and honest about it. I don't listen to anything at all unless you hear Governor Cuomo say it, the president say it, or your school administrators sharing it directly with you. I would highly suggest that you turn off and don't listen to any social media about this issue. I would suggest to watch the news, the local news, for an update, or a 15-minute news update through, I don't know, NPR has a wake up podcast in the morning that just gives you like, this is what's happened and that's it. And then let it go and move on. You have to remember the 24-hour news networks, all of them get paid on viewership. So they're going to constantly try to get you to watch. I have seen my friends and myself at times get caught up in watching what is a constant rev up of your emotions. This is not the time for that. This is not the time for those things. And I would suggest staying away from that. If you've heard it, if it's out there, you haven't heard it from the school, then don't worry about it. We're going to share with you everything we hear as soon as we can. And it is going to change. All the information I've given you tonight, it's a great plan. Our teachers have worked outstandingly to put this together and thinking of the big picture. But by Monday, the governor could make an executive order and change things. That's what's happening, whether we're going back to school on April 15th or not. That's going to be determined by those things that we don't have direct control over. So it's not good for us to focus or perseverate on it. So I'm just thinking mental health, yeah. Honestly.
Yes, especially right now, because so many of us do turn to, myself included, turn to others, and we're not able to be around others. So social media is a way to get that contact, but sometimes it's not used the right way. So just, I'm going to shift into work pickup. I have a few questions around that. So before I ask the questions, I'm just going to kind of lay out really quickly and clarify the pickups. So everything is going to be picked up on Friday, April 10th, and that is for 3 weeks of schoolwork. For pre-K through second, everyone will have a packet there for your child. So for every grade level, thank you, awesome. Pre-K through second, everyone will have a packet. Third through fifth, you will also have a packet. However, by the third week, you will be transitioning to online work The only people that will require any kind of in-paper or hard copies past that would be anyone that had reported to their teachers when your teachers reached out to you about your internet access. If you reported that you do not have access at all whatsoever, then those are the folks that will be printing for, especially for that third week for the 3rd and 4th grade. But do please still come, because it's going to be a slow progression so that everybody has a chance to learn the Google Classroom platform. Grades 5 and 6 will be online only. So if you reported that you have access to the internet, then you will not have to pick anything up. If you reported that you have no access at all, then we will have hard copies available. Anything to add to that, Mr. Anderson? Is that a good summary?
Yep, that's a great summary. Thanks.
Perfect. So then I had someone say, will it be picked up in the small gym? So the answer is yes. It's going to look just like the candy pickup was. I had someone ask about the pickup. That was a couple of weeks ago, March 27th, I think it was, of last week. That was last Friday. Whew. There's a time. Oh my goodness. Will it be available again for folks that didn't get a chance to pick it up? The answer is yes. We'll have to talk to Mrs. Reed and the PTO about that. Possibly, maybe we could work it out that could happen on Friday. We just have to figure out where it is. So yeah, you absolutely will be able to pick it up. We just have to kind of organize that. It'll be at the small gym. You'll pull up in your vehicle. You don't need to get out of your vehicle. Someone will come to you, ask you who you're looking for, and they will go get it and bring it back to you. So you don't even have to enter the school building. Question around, should students be doing the work online and the hard copy?
The online work will complement the work taken home. So yes, they will work in conjunction with each other.
And your teachers are really going to give you the direction with that. So they're going to have they'll have some type of a summary that they will be able to provide that will tell you when to do different things and what goes with what. State exams, will they need to be made up?
No, the New York State exams for the 2019-20 school year have been canceled for this school year, so they will not occur. Right now, the Regents exams and all of that in June are still on. The Board of Regents of New York will be giving guidance on that for our high school students as this progresses. Just depends on when we get back to school.
Okay, so I just got a message from 6th grade that they are actually, if students do not have their Unit 5 notebook or their Lightning Thief book, then they will have to go to the school to pick those up. So the teachers will have those available in the small gym. So that will be communicating with your teacher about whether or not you have that. I know they've been asking on Google Classroom if kids have those materials. So if you don't have those materials, you will have to come to the school to pick those up.
And it's a Lightning Thief. That story is fantastic.
It is an awesome story. Don't watch the movie until after you read the book.
I know. My daughter made me buy the movie.
Let's see here. Will we have an updated Zoom after we find out more information regarding when school will be in session and things like that?
So this is the first time I've done a Zoom with the entire community this way. I hope as our constituency, our parents, I hope you know how important it is for me as the building leader and my teachers to make sure that we're communicating with you as openly and transparently as possible. That's why the SMORE newsletter has been something I've really tried to be very, very consistent on in sending information home to parents. This is a new medium that I'm using, so I'm learning as we go. If this is something that parents truly appreciate, honestly, I wouldn't mind you giving us a little thumbs up in the comment section, and I would be very glad to do this again if parents find this beneficial. I'm here to serve you. I am your principal. I love this community. I grew up here. I want to do anything I can to make us tightly glued together as an amazing family.
Let's see, a question regarding devices. Do the devices have all of the apps that they already need loaded onto them? I know that some of the work that and some of the platforms are internet-based and they're not necessarily an app. Some of them are just accessible by any device that has the internet. So whether you're on, you go to Google Chrome on your Android, or if you go to Safari on an iPhone, or to Internet Explorer on a computer. But some are apps. So one is iReady is either an Android, or iReady is either available on an Apple device for an app, or it can be signed on any device that has an internet browser. So that would be one area.
Yeah, the one thing that Mrs. Adams has shared with me is that at worst case scenario, a student might have to turn on and log on their device while they're connected to the school's internet, because then that would update and make sure that all the apps are current. So as we know more information on that, we'll share that with you.
Yep. Let's see. So I have another one. One person asked, instead of full class Zooms, would it be easier to do it by into groups of 3 to 5? I know some teachers may ask to Zoom individually, some may ask to do small groups, and some may ask to do full classes. Our class sizes are generally around 20, some are less, some are maybe a little bit more. So those tend to go a lot better, where they don't have to be muted the whole time and that kind of thing. But yes, teachers also can ask to Zoom individually if they wanted to utilize that as a way to give you feedback or to give the students feedback. They're really going to contact you and talk to you about the best way that that's going to work. So different teachers may choose to use different formats for getting in touch with kids to give feedback. It may be Google Classroom for one, or it might be a phone call. Some might want to do an individual Zoom. It just depends. So that will depend on the teacher and what they prefer. But their Zoom should take place during that scheduled time, so you'll know when that is.
Yep.
And the last question that I have, besides a lot of people, Mr. Anderson just saying that they feel like this was really awesome, it was very beneficial.
Okay.
That this is helpful, this is awesome, thumbs up. Thank you, thank you. Lots of thank you.
So this is this is one of the things I will do. I know that the reason,
a couple more, just so you know.
Yeah, there was in setting up this Zoom, I know I only let people know last night that we were going to do it, and that really had to do with timing. We had
150 people at one point.
Yeah, a lot of it had to do with timing. So the governor had given us information, and then we needed to turn that back to teachers, which I was doing today. So I think if we were to do another one, and I think we will, I'll probably schedule it for when I normally send a s'more out. So probably on a Sunday night. We just felt like this information was critical to get out now to parents, and teachers really wanted parents to hear this as soon as possible too. So that's why there was a quick turnover to it. So again, we're recording it and we're going to put it out there for folks that couldn't be here for it. I know it's kind of tough on a Friday at 5 o'clock. So we'll work to work on better timing with it too.
So I have a couple more coming in really quick. This is a good one for you, Mr. Anderson. Do we have any ideas about when kindergarten or pre-K registration might be for next year?
That is a fantastic question, because we're shut down. I can't, we can't have people together to do it. So I'm a little, I don't have an answer to that right now. We're talking with Head Start to try to come up with a plan. But you know, it's just like, hey, if you were waiting to right before April to pay your county taxes, you can't go to the building to do it. So it's one of those types of situations where we're going to have to figure out how to do the registration, but it's going to be probably not until we can sit in a room with people.
Okay, I have a couple more little ones. Mr. Lovelace, so 5th grade, said that you know, they are more than happy if you wanted to request a one-on-one Zoom with your child. They are more than happy to set that up with you as well. So just let them know. So a question, this is a great question. We did talk to our teachers a little bit about this. So I have 2 children in the same grade level. So we do have quite a few grade levels that do have twins or have multiple children that reside in the same household that are in the same grade level. So what we just asked our teachers was to, you know, knowing that, to try and make sure that they don't overlap within their 3 hours. We did give them 3 hours to hold their Zoom, which no Zoom will go 3 hours. So if they were able to separate those out a little bit, but just to be sure, if you contact them, send them a quick email, just letting them know, that will also just help to remind them of that. So yes, we did talk a little bit about that because that could of course come up. We had a question about, can we share this PowerPoint? Yes, this PowerPoint is going to go in the s'more that Mr. Anderson was just talking about that will be sent out. And yearbook money and orders, what should we do with that? I know that there is an online link to order the yearbook. So you can either, I'm not sure if we can have things brought into the school for that, Mr. Anderson. You just want to order online, then you don't have to worry about bringing anything.
Yeah, ordering online would be the preference. If you could,
we can put that in our s'more too. We could, I have that information.
Yeah, we can put it in our information to do the online ordering.
Yeah. What about spring pictures? I know that Mrs. Reed and Ms. Gaylor were working on getting in touch with the company that does those to get more information about what our plan's going to be on that.
Yeah, they so the most recent update I got from Mrs. Reed is they had to shut the whole picture factory down for same reason why we're not in school. The most recent message said that they had thought they had gotten our pictures printed prior to that, and they're hoping they'll be able to mail them out to families or the school very soon. So you might get them in the mail. If you don't, we're going to get them at school, and when we do, we'll let you know. If we do get them before Friday, we'll put them in packets to send home.
Oops. Let me see. I think that is it. Does anybody have any additional questions that we may not have addressed or that I missed? I don't think I missed any, but if I did, please feel free to ask again. I think that's it. I think we're all set, Mr. Anderson.
So I want to thank everyone for coming. Thank you so much for participating in this. We will share with you everything that we can share when we find it out. This is uncharted territory, but we're Panthers. So we're going to make the best of it. And at the end of this, we're going to be stronger and even tighter knit as a family. So thank you so much. Have a very safe weekend. Kids, get to work. Make us proud, okay? We love you. Bye. I'm doing the bye waves. Am I good to end the meeting, Mrs. DeCamp? Did you get what you
I
needed?
can't figure out how to save this, so.
To save the chat?
Yeah.
Well, you
It
got
is. I got all the questions written down.
I think you got the questions written down, so that'll probably work
Okay.
out okay.
Yeah. Go Panthers.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Yeah, I had no problem doing it the other day. Now it's a thing. Well, hey, everyone's getting to see us learn like in the moment here.
You betcha.
Yeah, I clicked here last time and it saved, but now it's.
Yeah, I think we're good. And I don't think you'd be able to save any of the ones that I have because they're private.
Oh, okay.
So
great. Then I'm gonna end the meeting. And
bye, Mr. Cook. Oh my goodness, I just made it full screen.
There we go. Bye, everyone.